Hey, this is Dan LeFave, and this channel is all about helping you become your highest and best self. You know, we're living two lives all at once, the one you're living and the one you're capable of. And I'm here to help you to become your highest and best and live the one you're capable of. So watch this video and learn from one of the greatest productivity planners of our time. And then grab my free Google plug and play planner that you can download today and start creating a plan to earn 12 months income in 3 months.
It is no secret that Elon Musk has an insane work schedule, working more than double the hours of the average full-time worker.
And now I'm kind of in the 80 to 90, which is more manageable. But that if you divide that by 2, it's only like, maybe 45 hours per company, which is not much when there's a lot of things going on.
You're like a slacker. I mean,
Yeah.
And that time is split between many different projects. Most of it goes to his main companies, Tesla and SpaceX, but he also spends time on things like The Boring Company and OpenAI, and of course, making flamethrowers. Add to that the fact that, according to Ashley Vance's biography on him, he spends 4 days a week with his 5 children, and you've got what is possibly one of the busiest and most hectic daily schedules of anybody on this planet. Now, in contrast to the video that I did about Ben Franklin just a few months ago, with Elon Musk, we don't have a source that gives us a super granular look at his daily schedule, other than a few tidbits that he's revealed in interviews, such as the fact that he spends about 80% of his time on design and engineering, despite what most people might think.
I think a lot of people think I must spend a lot of time with media or on businessy things, but actually almost all my time, like 80% of it is spent on engineering and design.
But what we do know about is the method that he uses to keep his schedule organized and to plan out his day. Musk actually plans his day in 5-minute increments and has everything pre-planned in advance. This is a technique called time boxing, and it's actually used by lots of other people, including Bill Gates and Cal Newport, though Cal calls it time blocking. Essentially, time boxing, or time blocking if you want to call it that, or heck, time bloxing, I'm not going to stop you, is the practice of setting a fixed amount of time for each task that you have to do and integrating those blocks of time into your daily schedule. I use this technique a lot with my own work, and because people like Musk and Bill Gates and Cal Newport and many others find it so useful, today I wanted to break down exactly how you can use time boxing most effectively in your own work. So let's start with the obvious question. Why use this technique? Why time box your schedule? And I know there are going to be critics of this technique right off the bat who are going to say scheduling your entire day in advance basically makes you a robot, dude. Why would you want to do that? And I gotta say, number one, we humans really give robots a bad rap sometimes. But number two, this is kind of looking at it from the wrong perspective. Yes, scheduling your day in advance does mean that you're going to be adhering to a predetermined plan and that you're going to have less unstructured free time. But as you might know, unstructured free time can sometimes be a bad thing. As Parkinson's law states, work tends to expand to fill the time allotted for it. So essentially, time boxing creates a useful limitation that can actually make you more productive. First and foremost, it takes a lot of the choice out of the moment on what you're going to work on because you are adhering to a plan, so you spend less time figuring out what you're going to do in the first place. And number two, because you have a limited amount of time, you aren't going to waste it. You're going to be focusing a lot more intently. And in the case of people like Musk and Bill Gates, they probably need to use this technique. They've got so many commitments, so many balls in the air that without pre-planning their schedule and keeping it really organized, things are bound to slip through the cracks. Okay, so if I've got you convinced, let's talk about how to use time boxing. And the simplest way to do it is the way that I like to do it, where I write out my daily plan either on my whiteboard or on a piece of notebook paper, and I just estimate the amount of time each task is going to take. So I don't actually put it on a calendar and give it start and stop times of the day. I just say this is going to take me 20 minutes and then I'm going to move on to the next thing. If you're somebody like me who doesn't have a whole lot of scheduled fixed commitments that start and stop at specific times, then that can work really well. And it might also work if you're in school or you're an employee and you have like a specific block of time when you already know you're going to be doing things, and then you have like another block of time that's kind of freed up. And if this method does work well for you, you don't have to do it on paper because there is an app called 3030 on the iPhone that I have used several times before. Now, I gotta say, I really don't like the design of this app. The font they chose in this app is kind of terrible, but it is one of the few apps that lets you set a specific time that you're going to work on a task and then kind of like build a little itinerary of timed tasks that you can then go through. And I used to use this a lot in college when I had a lot of homework assignments to get through. Now, if you are on Android, I don't believe 3030 is on the Android platform, but there is an app out there called Do Now that seems to have a similar function. Now, if you are the kind of person that has a schedule with lots of predetermined commitments already and have gaps in between them, or you just want to have more structure in your life, then you actually might find it useful to use a calendar for your time boxing to set specific start and stop times for your tasks. This is the way that Cal Newport says he does it in his blog post on the subject, and if you're a student that has a lot of little gaps of time in between classes, I think this is the way to go for you. Either way, if you're going to use this technique successfully, then the number one thing you're gonna need to learn how to do is properly estimate how long tasks are going to take you to complete. And the bad news is that you and me both are human beings. We both like ingesting organic matter, we both like using our respiratory systems to convert oxygen into carbon dioxide, and we are both naturally bad at estimating how long things are going to take. Did I mention I'm not a robot? We're all susceptible to what's called the planning fallacy, which describes how human beings tend to make over-optimistic predictions for how long things are going to take. And there was actually some research done at the University of Waterloo in Canada on this phenomenon. Students were asked to make two different types of time predictions. One was a best case scenario prediction where literally everything went right, and the other one was for the average case scenario, your average everyday run-of-the-mill experience. And the researchers found that predictions for both types of scenarios were virtually identical, which showed them that human beings tend to picture the best case scenario where literally nothing goes wrong when they're trying to predict what's going to happen in an average everyday case. So even though you know in the back of your head that when you try to get to work on an average day, there's traffic or somebody's driving in front of you really slow on their phone, there's a grandma in front of you, when you predict how long it's going to take to get to work, you picture the scenario where there's barely any traffic at all and everything is just perfect. And this cognitive bug is not very congruent with successful time boxing, because if you tend to make super over-optimistic predictions for how long each task is going to take, then you are going to end up getting less than half of what you plan to get done actually done. So one way to get better at estimating how long your tasks are actually going to take is to track your time. The app that I personally use for this is called Toggle, which is available both on computers and mobile devices. And essentially, you just tell it what you're gonna do, you can give it a tag if you want, and then you start it and stop it once you're done. I found that if you track your time with an app like this, then over time you start to get a record of how long things actually take, and you can start to see what the discrepancy is between your original estimations and the actual data. From there, you can sort of start calibrating your brain and making better estimations. Also, when you're sitting down to plan your day and you're estimating how long your tasks are gonna take, it's gonna be really helpful if you split your bigger tasks into smaller subtasks. Not only will this make your task list more action-oriented and clear, but it's also gonna help you with your estimations, because it is always easier to estimate how long a small, well-defined task is going to take. All right, so now we have to deal with what is possibly the most legitimate objection to time boxing, which is, how do you deal with interruptions? How do you deal with things that you couldn't plan for or things that just pop up and interrupt your work?
Tom, the Secret Service wants you again.
Again? Well, as Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, planning is everything, plans are nothing. So,
how would you like to earn 12 months income in 3 months? Hey, this is Dan LeFave, and I have a special announcement for you. I'm so excited about it and can't wait to show you what it is. You know, earning 12 months income in 3 months is completely possible, but there are 5 mistakes people make when trying to figure out the right steps to take. You know, getting a fast start each week creates momentum and helps you to be extremely productive throughout the week, right? And Monday is often a stressful day, and we can feel behind before we even know it. Often we jump in at the beginning of the week by responding to emails and voicemails and whatever else is waiting our attention. And this only puts us on someone else's agenda and immediately off our own priorities. Aside from just diving into our week, there are things that can derail us and get in the way of us taking the time to plan our week, including a negative mindset. Maybe one of the following fatal assumptions is slowing you down. So number 1, maybe you believe that you have no time for planning and setting goals. You think that you're just too busy, that you'll never get to it, or that you get to it later, but then that never happens. Or maybe number 2 is impacting you. Maybe you believe that you don't need it, that you have a misconception that somehow you're the exception to the rule and you don't need a plan for your week. So watch how quickly your time slips away. Number 3, maybe you believe that you already know it. You think you already know what you need to do, so there's no point in writing it down. There's no sense in making a plan. Or maybe number 4 is impacting you. Maybe you believe that you're just too experienced. You think that a weekly plan is only for beginners and that somehow you're in a position that doesn't need it. Or maybe number 5 is impacting you. Maybe you believe that you don't want to be accountable and you don't work well from a written weekly plan. After all, it creates discomfort because it's constantly reminding you that you're doing things that you know you shouldn't be doing. And if one of these fatal assumptions is stopping you, Let's put a stop to them right now before it's too late. Think of planning as a roadmap. It's a step-by-step plan to something that will bring you happiness and joy. The problem with planning is that it wasn't taught in schools. So most parents didn't learn how to plan, and so they couldn't teach us either. And when we don't have a plan, we lack focus. And without focus, we could end up anywhere. Can you imagine trying to build a house without a plan? Never. You wouldn't waste your time and hard-earned money. Instead, you would get the best architect and choose the best design that you can enjoy for years to come. So why don't we do the same thing with our life? Even with a simple plan, we could be 100% more focused than we were before. Our teachers told us to focus and concentrate in class, but then never taught us how. Well, I'm going to show you right here. So the point of planning is to help you identify and implement the critical few actions that you will need to take to reach your goal. Planning can be very simple, but it has to be specific. The more detailed your plan is, the easier it is for you to see it in your imagination and then believe that you can accomplish it. Imagine having a simple plan and earning 12 months income in 3 months. Imagine having a plug-and-play tracking system that will keep you motivated and moving forward. Imagine having an accountability system that with a little effort will keep you on track. That's exactly what you're going to get right now. So I've done all the research and all the hard work. You just need to download it and then put it into play. So if you haven't started working towards your big goal yet, that would help you earn 12 months income in the next 3 months, it's not too late. Join the movement and grab your productivity planner now. Click the link or the button on this page now and download the planner for free. This is the last productivity planner you'll ever need.